Whether school buildings are open or closed, we're always there for our students. Because kids who already struggle with poverty, emotional trauma, and other learning barriers need our support more than ever. At Communities in Schools, we do whatever it takes. Tutoring, mentoring, providing resources for at-home learning, and just checking in schools and in communities, making sure all kids can learn and succeed. For more information, visit communitiesinschools.org.
Welcome back from your breakout sessions. We hope you enjoyed learning some meaningful content and connecting with your peers. As a reminder, all breakout session content, including recordings, PowerPoints, and resources, will be available in the event platform through March 31st. You can come back to sessions you attended or sessions you missed to check out all the great content. Now let's chat about the breaks real quick. While this week is for learning, it is also a space for you to recharge. During the breaks, we hope you take a moment to engage with the wellness resources in the Wellness Room. In addition to mindfulness moment cards available for download, our partners from the Contentment Foundation and Box have provided some physical activity and quick mindfulness video prompts if you're looking to move around or stay grounded during the event's breaks. So today, to open the conference, you heard from me and Ray on the impact CIS can have on our education system and on engaging students in learning. Now, to close out today's session on re-engagement, we'll be joined by members of our network to hear about their promising practices, learned lessons, and focus for the future on re-engaging students, families, and communities. Please join me in welcoming our panel moderator and my colleague, Michael Wong, Vice President of Learning and Practice at the Communities in Schools National Office, and our panelist of network practitioners. Enjoy the panel.
Okay, hello CIS, welcome back. Welcome back from the breakout sessions, and thank you for joining this closing session for the first day. Real quick, you know, when we envisioned this conference as a national office, we always envisioned this conference to be a practitioners-driven conference, right? One where we brought site coordinators and program managers together to connect with each other, and also made sure we heard from them first and foremost. And so that's exactly how we're going to end the first day, talking with site coordinators and program managers who have been working in schools across the country today. So to get us started, I am going to invite each of these panelists to introduce themselves, tell us your name, your affiliate, and how long you've worked with Communities in Schools. Chelsea, can we start with you?
Absolutely. So I'm Chelsea Puchka. I am a Strategic Initiative Specialist for Communities in Schools Pittsburgh. So a big shout out to my Pittsburgh folks. I know you're out there. And I actually started Communities in Schools with the pandemic. Like literally when the pandemic hit, I accepted a job for Communities in Schools.
Incredible. I'm sure that's like a start like no other. All right, let's move over. Alex, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So, hey everyone, I'm Alex Littleton. I'm the Director of Operations for CIS of Southwest Virginia. I have been with CIS about 7 years or so, started as a site coordinator, and have had the opportunity to kind of grow with the organization from, working in one school district and 2 schools to now we're in 2 school districts and 19 schools. So, and thank you all for having me. Excited to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alex. And Tylen, welcome to the stage. Will you introduce yourself to CIS?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tylen Fields. I am a site director at a middle school with CIS Los Angeles. I've been with the affiliate for about 3 years now, and I enjoy my role as a site director at a middle school in Los Angeles.
I love it. I love it. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. I could hear your home affiliate colleagues all shouting and sharing from you like we would. Okay, so we have you all together to talk about what it's like re-engaging students this year. And I think to start that off, I want to get a sense of what entering the school year was like for you all. Did your district start off virtually, in person, hybrid? Let's reconnect with that since it's February, and see what the school year starting was like. So Chelsea, let's start off with you again.
Sure. So my school district started off completely online. So the students since last March have not fully returned to in-person learning.
And what was it like to start with schools online? How did you find students? What was that connection like?
Yeah, well, what we found is that there was no connection with a large portion. It felt as though we said goodbye in March and we had to say hello again in a really different way because we were online. We had to actually throw really big community events to allow the community to understand that we were still there, that we did not disappear, that we still loved them, and that we were, the school and Communities in Schools was a local resource hub for them. So it was redefining hello and, come back to school.
I love it. Redefining hello. Very insightful. And we'll come back and ask you a little bit about those school events. But just moving down the line, Alex, what was school like in Southwest Virginia as it restarted? Try to paint that picture for us.
So our schools actually started back in August in person. So school or students had the option to go or attend school in person 4 days a week with one remote day. Parents and students had the choice to choose fully remote learning. I think throughout the school year, it's been about anywhere from 20% to 30% have chosen that remote option. So, 70% or so are learning in person. And other than the month of December and part of January, we went fully remote just because the community spread, was so high. I think it was like that all over the country. So we've been in person. I know that's kind of unique, especially like within our network in Virginia. We're the only affiliate that has consistently had students in person. But it's been good to be able to lay eyes on our students, and physically assess them and how they're doing.
Great. And then Tylen, let's come to you with that question also. What was school like opening in LA?
For me as a site director, schools opening in LA, it was a bit overwhelming and questionable because here in Los Angeles, we've kind of remained in the purple tier. So we have not set foot on campus. We've been virtual. So are we still going to have the capacity to support our families and our students as we did prior to this new school year? So it's been very questionable, very overwhelming, wanting to know if we're still going to have the resources to cater to our affiliate, all the middle schools, elementary schools, and high schools that we service here in Los Angeles.
Okay. So I am going to open a question to any of you to answer right now. And later this week, we're going to hear from students and families. But I'd love to start off by thinking about students and putting them right in the center, right? What last year was such a disruptive and unpredictable school year for them. The pandemic hit. We like to talk about how there was a national media and social media focus and discussion around race and the confluences of that with the pandemic. But for you all, as you reconnected with students without making any assumptions, what was on their minds as they came back to schools? What was that like?
So
I could take that.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Okay.
Sorry.
For my students,
You got it.
Okay. For my students, their question was, Miss Fields, when am I going to see my friends? When am I going to see my friends? When are we going back to school? The main thing is missing the campus, missing their teachers, and missing their friends. Yes, academics and the lack of internet resources and wanting more resources was a priority for them, but the main thing was that connection with their friends and their teachers.
That makes a lot of sense. And Chelsea?
Yeah, I would say that the main thing that I heard from my students was that their whole life and story had changed without them agreeing to it. So they went from being children in February, where they were going to football and Taco Bell and having boyfriend and girlfriends and all this normal adolescent behavior, to then being in the home where mom and dad are working maybe 20 hours a day, 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. And they actually shifted to be caregivers of their younger brothers and sisters. And we had to really have a lot of discourse and rhetoric about what that felt like. What resources can we offer to the teachers and to the administrators to allow them to understand how much these children's lives had changed and how traumatic it was for them. So we really focused on telling the children and family stories to the administrators and teachers to allow them to understand why they were behaving differently in the classroom, virtually behaving differently.
Sounded like because there was so much disconnection, you all were an extended voice for students and families. And I know I hear from site coordinators a lot, or people on campuses a lot, that say like educator time or principal time and attention is precious. So when did you catch their attention to kind of share student and family stories?
Yeah, so I host a tier 2 intervention group weekly with my students, and I send post snapshots of student stories, goal setting, progress, that the teachers then and administrators can discuss during SAP meetings or team meetings, or read at their leisure after the school. So I really focused on putting it in writing and opening up those windows to allow the teachers to digest what was happening to their students. Because that also is very traumatic for the teachers and administrators. They don't want to see that their students are going through a very traumatic time.
So Alex, I'm going to turn to you. And again, with a similar question about like what was on the minds of students as school started up again, but also just extend that a little bit further. What is student engagement to you all? How do you see the concept, and how do you sort of put that into practice?
So, so to me, student engagement, well, let me back up just a little bit. So for us as an affiliate, we spent, prior to COVID, we spent a lot of time looking at attendance and providing like attendance supports, incentives, whole school, individual student, you name it. We were doing a lot of work around attendance. So, going into this school year, we knew that attendance would look different. We couldn't do it the same. We would have to, rethink it. So for us, that has kind of shifted our mindset to be engagement. We kind of stripped away what is at the heart of attendance, and it's engagement. We need our students, we wanted our students to be there because if they were there, then we could see if they were engaged. But now in this like new environment of COVID and remote learning, and where school is constantly being disrupted, like just being in the building is not enough anymore. So we have to look at, how are our students being engaged online? How are they engaged with their teachers, their communities, their parents? And if we can kind of pull all of those factors in together, then I think our students will be much more successful. So to me, engagement is really at the heart of CIS. It's not really a new concept. It's what we've done all along. We're just, we're rethinking it and putting a new lens on it to make sure that we're all using the same language and that we're all working towards the same goal.
Right. It's at the heart of CIS, and it's where we start in order for other parts of education to happen. Alex, you said you all started in person, right? So you all got to connect with students. Yeah. So I'm going to pivot a little bit to Thailand. Thailand, you did not start in person. So what was that like? How were you connecting with students? Were they new relationships or old and existing ones?
So a majority were old and existing ones. For the new students, it was a lot of outreach, a lot of tier 1, 2, and 3 support with the students. So calling a lot, calling the students, calling the parents. When I speak to the students and parents, I like to ask a lot of open-ended questions. So it's just like, yes, no. I'm going to ask questions so we can engage, so you can give me a longer answer so I can see where you are. But a lot of small groups, large groups, and whole school support has helped with the engagement of existing students and new students.
All right, small groups, large
As
groups,
well as,
whole school. Sorry, that was probably my connection.
Yes, large groups. Sorry. Yes, large groups, whole school, tier 1, then tier 2. So our ladies first groups, our boys groups, our college corner Wednesdays, and then of course tier 3, the individual support with the students and the parents, as well as we're in a pandemic. In my affiliate, we hit the ground running. So taking care packages to families, making sure we're able to provide them with financial support, checks, support with utilities. So a lot of groundwork too with the engagement.
Thank you for sharing that. Chelsea, you started earlier in this conversation talking about a lot of community workshops and reestablishing Hello. Tell us a little bit more about like what you all did and how that looked in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so what we found was that our communities were very isolated and were not connecting to the schools and other local community resources. So we took traditional offerings like food distributions, healthcare clinics, and spun them to make it a touch point in that sort of redefinition of hello. So if you're getting 400 people to come for food boxes, there's the people you need to say hello to again and redefine it. So we had events where we had food distributions, and then we would put art displays from the students to make the event feel like a touch point. Like, we understand that life is not really great right now, and like, how can we do this interestingly, like through art? Like, and the art was actually from the students of the school, giving kids, holiday gifts and allowing families to come in and celebrate the holidays while receiving goods. And we had, music playing from past work, like the choir groups, to make it sort of feel like it's a community event. And to start that hello of like, we understand that you need help and we're here to help. And also allowed the community to become the helpers. So we allowed like a role shift. And that was really interesting to watch. So the same people that could potentially be coming to get food, it actually like makes us all like weep and cry, would literally turn around and go into their house and get clothes that were too small for their children, come back and bring it to the same event to give to other people, to give to their children that might have clothing needs. So we allowed for this multi-depth events for people to engage and through that healing came. Through that, people started to connect with the school and saw the school as a hub, and communities in schools as sort of like that advocate, like marching band leader of like, we're gonna get through this and we're gonna do it together, and we're gonna do it by helping each other in all kind of different ways. So that was sort of that redefining hello and allowing different kind of touch points and allowing people to help each other. And we really encourage that. We did multiple of those events. We plan on doing more because it was just so rewarding. I will say, like the last shout out, like the teachers themselves for these events raised $900 and gave it back to their families. And like, we all know that teachers don't make a tremendous amount of money, but the teachers at Christmas were going to buy fuzzy socks and gloves and shampoo and giving it to their same students to support them. So it was really a wonderful sort of redefinition of a community event.
Yeah. Chelsea, I love your examples because there's such powerful stories of us partnering with students and families and educators to really address community needs and not one direction, right? It's all about localizing that power and taking care of each other. I'm going to switch a little bit. Alex, in preparation for this conversation, I know we talked a lot about social emotional supports that students that we provided or supported students with at the start of the school year. So can you talk a little bit more about that in Southwest Virginia?
Sure. So, going into the school year, social emotional learning was one of the things that both of our school districts came to us and said, we know that our kids are going to need help. What can you guys do? So in part of kind of our shift in our focus, we picked up the SEL baton. And so our site coordinators are providing, individual supports like journaling or mini lessons, still doing like those one-on-one conversations that help, build those relationships are so foundational to our work. They're also doing small groups in the